Hello, everyone, and welcome to a panel on how CREs are adapting. My name is Mike Castle. I'm with Communications Electronics. We're an integrator out of the Baltimore area, serving primarily in the Mid-Atlantic and also nationwide. With me, I have just a really good cross-section of the CRE marketplace. And to start with, I'm going to go straight to Dimitri from Sabills and ask him the question. Conventional wisdom is post-pandemic that we're going to have a gluttony of open Class A office space. And in fact, the last numbers I've seen were about 15% unoccupied space. What trends are you seeing? What are you seeing? What do you expect to see in a post-COVID world?
Mike, thanks for the question. My name is Dimitri Kutravelis. I'm a senior managing director at Savills. We are a tenant-only firm, national in size, 30,000 global employees. I've been within the industry for the past 30 years, 10 years as an architect and general contractor, and 20 years with Savills. So, but to answer your question more directly, Mike, there's clearly changes that are happening due to the pandemic, and the work from home policies that we're being actually forced into, not elected to, have changed the dynamic of how occupiers lease space. So every company is different, every culture, every company is different, so they are treating the pandemic and the effects of the work from home a little bit differently. I'm working with several groups. All of them have different needs. One group might be expanding in size because of the circulation factor is growing as a per person per square foot has increased due to the pandemic and making sure that there's a healthy environment for their employees. Then there's also companies that are shedding space entirely because the work from home is working great and they don't have a need for office space at all. And then there's the middle ground where they're going to keep the same amount of square footage as required. So every company is different and reacting to it differently, and it really is a matter of the culture of that company. Now, as it relates to technology, there's a lot of similar factors that go into the technology requirements with DAS systems and the like. And what we always want to make sure of is that the technology is that the landlord's providing the proper infrastructure for the building. So we will ask them what carriers, what type of infrastructure do you have? Is fiber coming into the building? And is there proper service for the building? So that's what I have for you.
That's great. You're a little bit on the other side of that coin. What are you seeing in terms of your DAS infrastructure? Is that providing value to these tenants? Are they asking you for that as well?
Was that to me, Mike?
That was to Nick. I'm sorry. Maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mike. I apologize. Hello, everyone. Nick Costello, Senior Vice President of IT at Vornado Realty Trust. We've seen the value of in-building cell play out throughout our portfolio over the years, becoming an amenity really now to a necessity. And what we've been doing is we really believe in tenant amenities and really leading the space in that market niche. And we've done a lot with frictionless entry for the tenants, and we believe that the in-building cell systems have helped that, where smartphones can allow you to gain access into your space through the lobby. And some of the applications that we sponsor and we push out to the tenants in terms of an amenity and access require cellular connectivity. So having that in our buildings is something that is absolutely more valuable in these times that we've seen, for sure.
Good. And Walter, you're on the more on the data center side. So how are you being affected by these trends?
Yeah. So hi, I'm Walter Cannon. I'm with Zenfi Networks. Zenfi Networks is a New York New York City, New Jersey metro area-based communications infrastructure company. We like to say that we provide shared infrastructure in the form of space, power, and connectivity. So when you talk about what we're seeing now is actually a big uptake in people needing connectivity in a couple places. One, a lot of it is happening with some of our customers, our wholesale customers on the WISP, on the wireless internet service provider side, where they're going after a lot of MDUs, which are multi-tenant buildings, and needing connectivity, and that we're starting to do a lot of stuff, work on that side. We're also looking at people are taking advantage, our customers are taking advantage of being this downtime, and we're able to get more stuff done faster, and we've started to deploy and support CRAN solutions to do cost-effective DAS. One of the last things I think that's really interesting and is really starting to pop up a lot of interest for us is around CBRS. It's a new spectrum released by the FCC, and companies are looking, property owners are looking to use it for in-building to support their networks and provide better connectivity.
Excellent. Greg, you guys dabble a little bit in that infrastructure side. What Walter just explained to us.
Okay, thank you. Greg Sprates, Senior Vice President of our Real Estate Division at Tenants Systems. And we look at ourselves as an infrastructure as a service company. We're the infrastructure that connects things, whether that be on the outdoor side, as Walter intimated, on small cells for the mobile network operators, or whether mobile network operators or building owners need cellular coverage or other infrastructure needs inside the building as well. And then we also have metro assets, fiber assets that we leverage in certain markets to support enterprise clients. So we have a little bit of the 3 to 4-legged stool there, where we support mobile network operators, building owners, the tenants with mobile coverage or other enterprise related services, data services. And then also we have a strategic side where we actually deploy CBRS private LTE networks in rural areas. And then we've also have trials right now in manufacturing and industrial and sports and entertainment. So that's a little bit about what we do. As it relates to some of the things we're seeing in the marketplace right now, specific to COVID, as certain things have slowed down for a while operationally across the board, specific to maybe commercial real estate for deployment purposes, entry and access, and then also in sports and entertainment, venues, sports teams. Although we have a lot of big projects going on, we're in there working. It's just there's nobody else in the stadium, unfortunately. So we can get our work done fast, needs to be done in preparation, as this will hopefully move beyond us. But at the same time, we're also seeing some other changes in our space with regards to the tenant demand as they work virtual. We're seeing augments to networks, data networks, connectivity to data centers, and cloud from those working virtual, accessing certain applications where the servers may reside back in the building, but there needs to be more capacity to allow more connectivity and VPNs to operate. But at the same time, the building still needs more connectivity now to the cloud, because there's nobody in the building using the wide area network in the building or the LAN. So we see a lot of capacity increases from the buildings to data centers. And then also we see a lot more demand on connectivity to cloud and data center applications as well. But it's really not a little bit of from an in-building wireless coverage. That's slowed down a little bit with us. I think just everybody's kind of hitting the brakes a little bit to see how this will play out. I think that specific to kind of what Nick said, they've done a tremendous job of making sure that their tenants have all the latest amenities, and so they're positioned well to deploy a lot of these applications that are driving touchless entry and other applications that have just now come up that 6 months, 9 months ago no one would have thought we needed. And so other buildings that we're talking to and real estate owners are trying to figure out what do we need. from a reentry platform perspective. And obviously we're right there with the infrastructure piece of it.
Does that resonate with you and your tenants, with what Greg's explaining there?
I mean, for sure, it's something that I think there was a great combination of, having the ability to install the in-building cell systems as we have, and now leveraging it more for applications, access, things like that, where when it started, it was, purely cellular communications and conversations, right? But now with the advent of the App Store and Google Play, there's lots of other ancillary but yet very important aspects of that cellular in-building connection that we can leverage for the betterment of our tenants, for sure.
That's excellent. Dimitri, how about what are your tenants' view on this?
Well, tenants require that buildings have the technology to support their business, and that's a major requirement in today's way of doing business. So if the infrastructure isn't there, they have to put it in. Frankly, they just have to meet the market to do that. I'm curious with Walter if he's seen an increase in the cloud because of the work from home policy, because of this overabundance of the need for data that's going across the wires here. If that's improving his business or not. But tenants definitely require landlords and buildings to be up to date with their technology support and infrastructure.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to go on with Greg. We've definitely seen an uptick from enterprise to data center connectivity, specifically a lot of it for cloud or accessing applications. I think there's also some new things that we're starting to see with, the edge, the cloud coming more to the edge, and there's, technology is catching up and technology is being developed by the content providers that will allow us to bring it, right into the building. And this is some of the interesting things that we're starting to evaluate and trial and look at with our customers.
That's great. Great.
I also think one of the things that's really missed here, and especially somewhere like New York City, is there's a problem with the digital divide and providing connectivity cost effectively in some of our public housing and other places. And I think that we, unfortunately, but fortunately, during this COVID times, we've been able to make some advances in where cost meets technology and is starting to catch up. And I think we'll see that also having an uptick. There's a lot of noise out there now, a lot of money being thrown out there around by both on a federal and state level. And I think you'll see there's some projects happening now that will increase connectivity in that area as well.
Interesting. Greg, are you seeing some of those same things that Walter's talking about?
Yeah, I would say that the first half of the year, from a mobile network operator perspective, I think everybody was in a little bit of a freeze mode to kind of assess go-forward plans and what are the implications of this, getting work done, working with cities, municipalities. We don't work so much on anything that's more like federally funded, but what we are seeing is how the FCC and the states have stepped in to accelerate deployments of small cells, permitting, and all of that. So the second half of the year has shown a dramatic shifting by mobile network operators and by others with regards to cranking the machines back up and getting things done, at least on the outdoor side. And we're starting to see a pickup on the indoor side as well, more of an interest in preparation and planning for this. But we don't deal so much on I think maybe what Walter was talking about was more like, federally funded or grants or subsidizations and things like that. Not so much. We definitely see them leaning in on permitting and driving accelerated deployments and breaking down barriers for speed of deployment on 5G.
Sure. Dimitri was talking earlier about his tenants really requiring the building and the landlords to provide that DAS. Nick, let's go to you. What are you seeing in terms of funding models for that? And I want to hear back from Greg as well on that, obviously.
Well, from my point of view, the years of the carriers, I was going to say ISPs, but the carriers funding this because of them having the capital to do so, and coupled with the need to offload the macro, those days are in all likelihood behind us with some few exceptions. So, as we continue with our in-building build-outs, we have to look at other alternatives. And of course, one is always the landlord. But we haven't gotten to a point just yet where we've had a large building that doesn't have in-building cellular that is requiring one. And we had to come across that question and answer it as to how do we go about, installing this and paying for it. Of course, I would like to have that same agreement in place where the carriers have the capital in which to continue to build, but that's not the case anymore. There are a lot of options, Greg being one of them for sure, with Walter and as part of it in terms of having strategic partners to help more than an installation of an in-building cell system, where you could look at the infrastructure perhaps more holistically and not only service an in-building cell system, but other needs of tenants for bandwidth and connectivity. So we continue to look at that and see what makes the best sense and most sense for us.
Yeah, I would add to that it's definitely been a long tail with regards to the market pivoting with who funds and how much. Obviously, with Vornado, they've got a very set of attractive buildings to the mobile network operators. But what we are seeing and is obviously the shift. The mobile network operators have been at least to us as we talk to them and with regarding our portfolio of buildings that we represent, et cetera, is their willingness to maybe help fund some if it's the right type of building, right tenant ratios, et cetera. But they don't want to fund all of it, which is becoming more often the case. And so you got to get creative. And so we have OpEx models, MRR models, where we leverage our balance sheet. If the building owner is wanting to help fund, or in a situation where they have to fund it because they need to get that in there to their building to be attractive and compete and keep their tenants happy. So we try to help them out in that regards and create an MRR type model over a long period of time, and we'll do it as a service. And then, or we'll also look to do hybrid models where we'll look to get some funding from the mobile network operators and strike a balance at the end of the day. At the same time, as we're putting in that system, we'll overbuild the infrastructure in that building, in the risers and into the meet me room, and we'll look to leverage that vertical riser system we call our building communications infrastructure, and we'll look to monetize that as well. So if AT&T or Verizon are coming in and they want to access the tenants and sell enterprise services, we'll also look to provide that structure there for them as well at a small fee or probably maybe part of the deal, which also allows them to turn up services very quickly and have access. And so provides a very clean and neat environment, and we'll also manage the meet me room, et cetera, for those real estate owners who have a need for that. Not everybody does, but those are things that we do, and we do quite well, and also provide access to the rooftop. But,
and it's also important to point out that our tenants are also the carrier's customers, right? Yes. And that could also help sway whether they can do something for the benefit of the tenant / property in terms of in building, and that they've been very sensitive about that, and that has helped. But times are a little bit different now, and capital is certainly more scarce. So we have to continue to see what will work.
Yeah.
And Greg and Mike, if I could just add one little piece of that. What we see often is that there are several carriers that are being provided to the building, not just one singular carrier.
Right.
Most tenants nowadays, especially the large groups, require redundancies to be put in place. In case one fails, then they can tap into the other. So it might be a variety of different carriers, but definitely not just one carrier would be providing that access.
Right. That's great. Hey guys, I really thank you for your time and your answers to and your perspectives on this. But I wanted to wrap up just so we have some time for Q&A at the end of this. So let's move into that phase. Thank you guys.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.